Hey team, my name is Chris and I'm a surgical service registrar in paediatric surgery, and today I wanted to talk to you about a planning principle that I learnt in the military that I think is essential for surgical practice but very rarely implemented. Before I became a doctor, I was an infantry platoon commander in the Australian Army Reserve, and one of the mission planning concepts that we were introduced to during the course of our training was called the 1/3, 2/3 rule. So this concept is not unique to the Australian Army, it's a universal military planning principle, and it goes as follows, which is that if you're given a task and you're given a certain amount of planning time, then 1/3 of that planning time should be allocated to yourself, and 2/3 of that planning time should be allocated to your team. And the question is, well, why do this? Why the seeming inefficient delay between instruction and action? Shouldn't the team just be able to take an instruction and implement it? The answer is that in order to take advantages of the strengths of a team and mitigate its weaknesses, you need to give people time to orientate to the task, innovate on the solutions, and then confirm the intent of the task and the instructions that they've been given before they perform the action. As many high-risk industries know, planning time is essential to the performance of a task. It's the difference between instinctual action and calculated action. You see, instinctual action is what we do when we don't have much time to consider our response to a situation. It's a function of past experience, and if you don't have much experience, then you fall back on limited knowledge and understanding to guide your actions. It can work in very experienced teams, but it's particularly weak in teams where individuals don't have a lot of experience in the area. In contrast to that, calculated action is anticipatory. It involves looking at the problems and the tasks that need to be overcome, planning for them, educating ourselves about how we might overcome them if we don't know, and then executing that task according to the intent. It, in fact, mitigates weakness because it gives people the opportunity to upskill and also leverages people's past experience to get the best possible outcome for the team. Within surgery, all of our effectiveness is dictated by how well the team performs. And within that team, you can have a really varied amount of experience. You can have the consultant who might have 10, 15, 20 years worth of experience in the specialty, all the way down to an intern who might be just starting out as a doctor for the first time on that particular rotation. A team like this is particularly susceptible to relying on instinctual performance as opposed to anticipatory performance. And this is compounded by the fact that often it's a very time-pressured environment in which the team is operating. This is where the 1/3, 2/3 rule can be a real strength in surgical teams. The question is, how does this apply to real life within surgical practice? There are a lot of differences between military planning and surgical planning. And so the question is this even feasible? So let's take a worked example. Let's look at a ward round, for instance, which you're doing every morning and every afternoon. And let's say you have 1 hour to complete that task. Then instead of taking the 1 hour to complete the ward round, maybe you take 50 minutes. And at the end of that 50 minutes, you spend the residual 10 minutes in a huddle with the team, confirming the nature of the requests that have been made, the reasons that they've been made, getting a sense of whether the team understands how those tasks can be done and what sort of time frame they should be done, and also confirming an understanding of those tasks with everyone involved. It also gives a decision maker an opportunity to hear from the team if they have any suggestions about a more efficient way to go about what the intent is, or whether they have any previous experience that might be relevant to the decision making of the day, or whether there are any limitations that is going to make it difficult for them to perform the task that has been allocated. In this way, the decision maker can take advantage of the team's experience, and the team gets to build its own competency and experience by taking that time to confirm any misunderstandings or shortfalls in knowledge. A much safer way of approaching decision making on a day-to-day basis than just relying on the inherent ability or experience of the team to perform the tasks without going through that process. You see, the strength of the 1/3, 2/3 time frame is not in its strict application of the times themselves, but rather in allowing the team the opportunity to review the nature of the request, innovate on how it can be solved, bring their own experience to the table and confirm any shortfalls in knowledge or limitations that might make the task more difficult. And this way it prevents errors before they occur. And I think that anyone who's worked in medical practice knows that preventing an error is always better than trying to fix it after it has happened. And so that time that you take in allowing this process is never wasted. Alright, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it helped. If you feel like it has, then please consider subscribing to the channel below and hitting the like button. It really helps. And until next time, enjoy the work.